What's going on, college football fans, man? I hope you guys are excited as I am to get this season started. It's finally here. This is officially week one of college football. My name is Stuart V, and hey, this is Venom Sports, where we spit that fire over here. Now, there's a lot of big games going on. You got LSU, Miami, you got Alabama, Louisville, you got Florida State and Virginia Tech, Notre Dame, Michigan, but none, in my opinion, that has bigger implications than Auburn against Washington. Now, when I think about a game like this, you got number 6 Washington taking on number 9 Auburn. When I look at this, I think about the team that has the most to lose. Now, Auburn, obviously, in my opinion, has the most to lose. They were 0-2 to finish the last 2 games of the season, both of which were played in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, losing to Georgia and UCF. The game they're going to play against Washington, playing again in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Auburn is trying to avoid 3 straight losses in the same venue and 3 straight losses, period. Now, when playing top 10 teams as season openers, Auburn historically is 1-6, with the only victory coming in 1957. That really doesn't count because players weren't even wearing helmets at that time. But more recently, the losses include to Clemson in 2012 and 2016. USC, they had this little home-to-home series, an interesting home-to-home series with USC back in 2002 and 2003, where they lost both games. 2002 lost 24-17. In 2003, losing 23-0. Mind you, that was back in the Reggie Bush, Lindale White days, Pete Carroll days, back in USC's heyday. Now, when Auburn loses these types of openers, usually they wind up with 4 losses, 5 losses or more, including in 2012 going 3-9, arguably one of the worst seasons in Auburn history, losing 8. Didn't win any SEC games that year. The sad thing about these openers is historically Auburn only loses these games by 9 points on average, and that includes the 23-0 loss to USC. Now, I say all of that to say this is, even though the margins of victory is relatively low, the implications have been very high in the negative department for Auburn. One thing that doesn't particularly help is Auburn has a very tough schedule, so a loss here could easily keep that trend going. And let's face it, it's very demoralizing to any team to lose its season opening game, no matter who you playing against. I mean, they're playing against the top, top 5, top 6 team. And, one could argue, say, okay, it's a loss that we can recover from. But Auburn just does not really have that luxury considering the schedule that they have. I'm talking road trips to Mississippi State, Georgia, and Alabama. And one interesting fact is they play against Texas A&M at home. And typically, the way that series has gone is that the home team usually has lost that game since this series has begun. So that's another hurdle that Auburn is going to have to get over if they're going to have some success this season. And it's time for Auburn straight up to win a top 10 game, top 20 game on the road. Auburn has not done so in almost 4 years, dating back to 2014 when they played against Ole Miss and they needed a reverse touchdown to do so. Laquan Treadwell was just about to cross the end zone, cross the plains, and everyone thought he had. But Chris Frost made contact at about the 1-inch line. And Laquan Treadwell fumbled the ball and broke his fibula at the same time, and that was the deciding factor in that particular game. Now, Auburn is not particularly experienced, especially on the offensive line. They lose 4 out of 5 starters, including Casey Dunn, who was a real big factor in their line last year. He will be missed definitely. But the good news is of the linemen coming back, it is thought, all of those guys actually did get some playing time last year and have some experience, but it's going to be really interesting to see how those guys gel in time for this season opening game, because they really don't have much time to figure it out. So they're really going to have to gel really quickly so that they can have some impact, because that's really the factor that everyone is concerned about, is how is the offensive line going to play with basically having to replace a good percentage of that offensive line. Also, some more good news is that Auburn has Jarrett Stidham returning at quarterback. This is a luxury that Auburn has not had in their past when having to tackle big games like this to begin the season. Usually they start these games with inexperienced quarterback play, but Jarrett Stidham has a year under his belt, had over 3,000 yards passing, one of the best as far as efficiency in the SEC. And he also has his big play receivers, Ryan Davis, Darius Slayton. But everyone's kind of waiting to see what Nate Craig Myers is going to do. Is he going to emerge as a big-time wide receiver in this offense? And of course, unproven, you got Cam Martin, who's going to be projected to be the starting quarterback, and a lot of buzz around Jartavius Booby Whitlow out of Lafayette, Alabama. And we're going to see how all of that plays out in this particular football game. Now, the Washington Huskies are no slouch. Now, they got 17 guys coming back, including Jake Browning, who threw for almost 2,500 yards. Now, statistically, he doesn't pose much of a threat as a runner. This could get him in trouble if the Auburn defensive line emerges like we think they will. He won't have a lot of time to stretch plays like he's been able to do in Pac-12 competition. Also coming back is Myles Gaskin, the second-team All-Pac-12 running back, who rushed for 1,373 yards and 10 touchdowns. Now, looking at Myles Gaskin on film, Myles Gaskin is a very respectable running back. He has great vision. He has great balance. He knows how to keep plays going. He's a great north-south runner. I think he's going to have some trouble, though, with the interior defense of Auburn. I don't think he's going to have a lot of yards in this game, which will be key to Auburn creating balance and giving themselves a chance to win in this big-time football game. So how do I think this game is going to turn out? All right, so you got an SEC versus Pac-12, a very good interconference, a cross-conference matchup, transcontinental matchup. Washington is going to have to, their fans are going to have to travel a great deal to get to Atlanta. So clearly, as far as home field advantage, I think Auburn obviously has that advantage. They played in this stadium twice already. They played in it more than the Falcons seem like. But either way, I think Auburn has an incredible opportunity here. I think they have all the tools that they need to be victorious in this game. And usually games like this are won in the trenches. And SEC football is predicated on offensive and defensive line play. And I think Auburn has the clear advantage here. I think they're going to create some opportunities, probably force some turnovers, and put themselves in a position to break some of these vicious cycles and trends that they have in season opening games against top 20 matches. We're looking forward to see how this game turns out. But as I see it, basically looking at film on both teams, I think both are very, very solid football teams. I think Auburn has the edge talent-wise. I think they have the edge when it comes to physicality and facing these top teams on a week-in and week-out basis. I don't think Washington has that luxury of having to face so many physical teams in one year. So Auburn is accustomed to having that. So I'm looking at a 28-17 Auburn victory on the low end, maybe 35-24 on the high end, but I look forward to a very entertaining game. Once again, my name is Stuart V with Venom Sports, man, and we're going to be spitting that fire this year.